Let's talk about the top thing that can stop your ability to lose your midsection, your belly fat. And you're probably thinking it's sugar, right? Or carbs. But there's something else that's of equal magnitude in preventing you from losing your belly fat. So let's say, for example, you're at the gym, you're doing exercise, you're doing sit ups, and this midsection just does not come off no matter what. And when I go to the gym, I do see a lot of people exercising for months without much loss. And there's also people on keto and people doing intermittent fasting that still just cannot lose that belly. So today we're going to talk about this really important barrier in getting your stomach flat. But warning, you may actually not like what I'm about to tell you. In fact, you may click off after hearing this, but realize I'm going to give you some good news. I'm going to give you a solution to this. I hate when someone gives you a video of bad news, bad things happening in the world, but they then don't give you a solution. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about alcohol, specifically wine. A lot of people are drinking wine, yet they're eating healthy and they're doing keto and they're doing fasting, but they still just cannot lose their midsection. And a lot of times they'll hear the concept that, pure alcohol is not a carb. So therefore it's keto friendly because ketosis is all about lowering your carbohydrates. Or maybe they've heard that there's such a thing as keto friendly wine because there's no residual sugars in the wine. Because a lot of times wine actually has residual sugars, small amounts, but they still have sugar. And that also includes the category of mixed drinks with added sugar or beer that has, hidden sugars. But typically, if we look at pure alcohol, it's not a carb, it's not a sugar, it's something else. It doesn't even necessarily increase your blood sugars or even insulin directly. Indirectly, it creates very severe insulin resistance, but not directly. I was traveling recently and I was at the airport and I needed to get some water, and all they had is a bar. So I went to the bar and I asked for some water. And he said, "You sure you don't want to drink?" I said, "No, I'm good."
Come on, you only live once. Go ahead, have a drink. You work hard, you play hard.
So I think in a social setting, it's a bit more difficult to say no, and you see these commercials where people are drinking alcohol and beer and wine, and they all look so healthy. They should probably show what a heavy drinker looks like when he or she drinks alcohol. Probably not the picture of health. So, what is the problem with drinking alcohol like wine for your belly? Well, it all has to do with this thing called the liver. The liver cells, called hepatocytes, treat alcohol like a poison. So they have to get rid of it. And there's a couple different things that it does. It initially turns it into a more reactive, more poisonous thing, which I'm not going to get into the names of it, but it actually goes through this process to try to get rid of alcohol. And the effect of this toxicity of alcohol on the hepatocyte, the liver cell, is that it injures the liver cells. It creates trauma and it can kill the liver cells. And in this process, this biochemical breakdown, you develop fat on that liver cell, the hepatocyte, which then starts turning your liver into a fatty liver. With that also comes a lot of inflammation and scarring as a byproduct. Okay. And if that keeps going for a period of time, you can develop cirrhosis. And then that increases your risk of getting liver cancer and all sorts of other issues. The other problem with alcohol is it greatly increases your estrogen in men. Okay. And then at the same time, it lowers your testosterone. And you probably have heard of the benefits of drinking alcohol just in moderation. Recently, they found that was just a marketing thing put out by industry. In fact, they found no benefits of drinking any amount of alcohol at all. The other problem with alcohol is that it's an empty calorie. That's right. Alcohol has calories. Now, if you look at the quantity of calories in a gram, okay, like in a carbohydrate, you have like 4 calories per gram. In protein, you have 4 calories per gram. In a fat, you have 9 calories per gram. With alcohol, you have 7 calories per gram. So it's almost as much as fat calories. And it's not nutrient dense calories, it's empty calories, which means it actually has to utilize certain nutrients to metabolize it. So it'll use up certain nutrients like B1, folate, other B vitamins, zinc, copper, things like that. So alcohol depletes these nutrients, especially B1. So the more alcohol or wine that you drink, the less B1 you're going to have. And that creates all sorts of other side issues like anxiety, worry, excessive thinking when you're trying to go to bed at night, nervous tension, restless leg syndrome, and just plain old fatigue, as well as hangover. Now, 50% of the population drinks alcohol. Okay. So chances are you're in that category. And 5% of that 50% are heavy drinkers. And so this video is just all about increasing the awareness, primarily focusing on your belly, because as that liver becomes more fat, that fat then has to then go somewhere. So it spills off into around the organs as what's called ectopic fat, and then in between the organs as visceral fat. And that's why the belly starts expanding. And if you're doing the ketogenic diet or you're doing intermittent fasting and you're drinking alcohol on the weekends, whatever, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to get rid of this belly fat because of what happens to the liver after you drink alcohol. You have this effect where it blocks the ability to oxidize or burn fat for a period of time a lot longer than you might think. So let's say, for example, you had a couple glasses of wine. Don't expect to burn fat for probably 48 to 72 hours after that episode. So let's say, for example, you don't drink on a daily basis, you just drink every 3 days. That alcohol really affects the brain, cognitive wise, mood wise. It affects the endocrine system, the hormone system. I already mentioned lowering of testosterone, increasing estrogen. It also affects your gut, okay, the gut microbiome, which has a whole bunch of other issues connected with that. It affects the heart. It creates a lot of negative things. What should you be doing? Well, realize the effects of alcohol and maybe you just want to stop it altogether, especially if you want to get rid of this belly. Okay. If you can't do that because of these cravings you have, take a look at the real reason why you are drinking. Is it to reduce stress? Is it more for social situations? Well, just avoid those environments where you keep getting yourself into. You know, don't gather where other people are drinking. Find some friends that are non-drinkers. Don't keep alcohol in the house. Find some other ways to reduce stress. There's a lot of things like certain herbs and like lemon balm tea is a good one. Ashwagandha herb is another good one. B1 is one of the best things for stress reduction. Try to find a natural one. And I found recently that if you take it right before bed, boy, does it help your sleep as well. And you'll just go right to sleep and then you wake up and you'll feel really refreshed. And especially if you have been drinking alcohol or especially wine, you're going to find that it's going to fulfill a deficiency and you're just going to feel a lot better within minutes, usually. The other thing you can do if you just can't give up the alcohol is to dilute the alcohol with maybe sparkling water. For example, in your wine, just fill it up with water so you have half and half. So now you're drinking half the amount, which has half of the negative effects. The other thing you can do is to take milk thistle before you go to this social activity where you're going to be drinking wine. What's so interesting about milk thistle is that milk thistle protects the liver against poisons. Okay, Tylenol poisoning, snake bites, poisoning from mushrooms. It's a very unique natural herb that can also help if someone has cirrhosis or inflammation in the liver or a fatty liver. And the last solution I'm going to recommend is kombucha tea. Try to find one with the least amount of sugars, but kombucha tea has this interesting texture, feel like it's a carbonated beverage similar to beer. It's kind of thick, acidic, and it gives you a nice, relaxed feeling. And it even has a little bit of alcohol in it, a very tiny amount, but it's a good kind of a transitional product off alcohol. So just go ahead and get some kombucha tea and use that as your substitute. So now that we covered the wine and alcohol situation, there are some other things to also help you get rid of your belly fat. And if you haven't seen this popular video, I put it up right here. Check it out.